They always said my sister was the golden child. And by they, I mean everyone. Our parents, our relatives, her teachers, the neighbors, and even the dog, yes, even our German shepherd seemed to prefer her. Melissa could do no wrong. At 5, she played piano like Mozart. At 10, she won her first science fair. By 16, she had a boyfriend with a trust fund and a college acceptance letter in hand. And me? I was the quiet one. The one who read too much, asked too many questions, and didn't know how to smile for family photos. I didn't bring trophies home. I brought library fines. Our mother said I was quirky, which is code for, please don't sit too close to the guests. Dad said I'd find my way eventually, which roughly translates to, you're embarrassing me in front of my colleagues. So when it came time for college, the family piggy bank went straight to Melissa. I wasn't surprised. They didn't even pretend it was going to be fair. They threw her a farewell party that cost more than my entire tuition. Wait, scratch that. I didn't have tuition money. I paid my way with scholarships, work study, and tutoring rich kids who never remembered my name. While she studied fashion communications at a private university in New York, I scrubbed dorm bathrooms and cried into instant noodles. But I didn't say anything. I smiled at her updates. I liked her Instagram posts. When my mom forwarded me her midterm project, a photo collage titled, The Beauty of Balance, where Melissa literally just posed next to a bowl of fruit, I responded with a thumbs up emoji. I played the game. Quiet. Supportive. Disposable. That's what they wanted, after all. But here's what they didn't know. While Melissa was hosting wine and cheese nights and doing unpaid internships at fashion magazines, I was building something. I spent 4 years studying finance. I didn't party. I didn't date. I didn't do anything that would cost me time or money. Instead, I built an algorithm. A stupid little side project that tracked micro-investment trends and used AI to identify untapped markets. By junior year, I turned $500 into $20,000. By senior year, that number had more zeros. I never told anyone. Not my friends. Not my professors. Definitely not my family. They didn't ask, anyway. So when graduation week came, and my parents asked if I'd be attending Melissa's ceremony, I politely declined. I'll be at mine, I said. Their silence was so loud I could hear my father blinking. Oh, my mom finally muttered. Yours is the same weekend? Yes, Mom. That's usually how graduations work. But of course, it didn't matter. Melissa's ceremony was a big deal. Mine was, well, I'm not sure they even knew what I'd majored in. Still, I sent the invite. I included the address, the date, the time. I even added a little sticky note that said, would love to see you there. They didn't respond. Instead, I saw Melissa post a story of the family eating sushi in a rooftop restaurant. The caption read, Last dinner with the crew before the big day. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't even angry. But I did start planning. Because while Melissa had always been the star of the show, I had quietly become the owner of the stage. And the day of our graduation, the curtain finally lifted. My ceremony was nothing fancy. Public university, folding chairs, one mic that kept cutting out every third sentence. But I wore my cap and gown with pride. And when I crossed the stage, the dean paused. He looked at his note card, smiled, and cleared his throat. Claire Hastings is not only graduating summa cum laude, but she is also the youngest alumnus in this school's history to donate a 7-figure endowment. The auditorium fell silent for a second. Then came the gasps. The whispers. And finally, thunderous applause. The dean gestured toward me and added, Thanks to Claire's generous contribution, our business school will be launching the Hastings Center for Innovation and Ethical Finance. I smiled. Not because I craved the attention. But because I knew that someone in that room would be recording this. And by dinner, it would land in the family group chat. The one I was never in. After the ceremony, the press swarmed me. I did a short interview with the campus news crew. I posed for a few photos. But I didn't stay long. I had somewhere to be. Melissa's graduation was scheduled 2 hours later. And it just so happened that the schools were only 10 blocks apart. I hailed a car and showed up just in time to catch the end of her name being announced. The applause was deafening. She looked stunning in her tailored gown. Our parents beamed in the front row like they were posing for a postcard. I didn't sit with them. I stood in the back, behind a column, quietly watching. Until, of course, I saw the dean of her school approach the mic. "We have a final note," he said cheerfully. "As we celebrate our talented graduates today, we'd like to acknowledge a transformative gift made to our partner institution down the street. A gift so significant, it will impact generations of future business students." Melissa's smile froze. The dean continued. "Please join me in applauding one of today's true innovators, Claire Hastings." Heads turned. Phones came out. I stepped forward just enough to be seen. Just enough for Melissa to lock eyes with me. She looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. My parents? My mother's hand dropped from her clapping. My father blinked again. I didn't wave. I didn't smile. I just turned and walked out. Let them sit with it. Let them wonder when I stopped being the quiet one. I left the auditorium, pulled out my phone, and opened my investment app. The market had closed 10 minutes earlier. Up 2.7%. Nice. But that wasn't the number I cared about. No, the number I was really waiting for was the number of unread messages in the family group chat. I finally got added. 32 notifications. My fingers hovered over the screen. I didn't open it. Not yet. Let them wait. I had a dinner reservation. 4-1. The next morning, I woke up to a tidal wave of curiosity. 32 missed messages had become 87. Then 115. By noon, I was up to 172. Apparently, I'd shaken the family tree hard enough for every branch to start texting. But I still hadn't opened a single message. I sipped my coffee slowly, sitting cross-legged in a penthouse suite my family didn't know I could afford. It was funny. All those years they spent talking around me like I was a piece of the furniture. Now they wanted answers. Now I was interesting. Now I was useful. I scrolled through the headlines instead. The student business paper had posted a piece titled, "Hastings Endowment Shakes Up Finance Department. Who is Claire?" Below it was a blurry photo of me, mid-smile, shaking hands with the dean. And then there was a comments section. A few people I'd tutored recognized me. A former TA I had ghosted after he asked me to grab a casual drink sometime, said he always saw her potential. "Sure, Tim." I finally opened the family group chat while I waited for room service. Here's a taste of what I found. MOM. Why didn't you tell us about this? This is a huge surprise, sweetheart. Dad. Very proud. Also, call me Melissa. Wait. You're the one who gave the endowment? Like, what? Aunt Marie. Claire, I saw the video. Is this for real? Uncle Rick. I always said she had brains. No, Uncle Rick. You said I looked like someone who would love puzzles and cats. I scrolled past message after message of people pretending they had believed in me the whole time. My cousins were texting me for career advice. Melissa? She tried to call, twice. I didn't answer. Because I wasn't done. Graduation was just the first course. And now it was time to serve the main dish. You see, my family was throwing a private dinner party that night. Not for me, of course. For Melissa. A post-graduation celebration with close friends and family only. At a fancy hotel restaurant downtown. It was planned weeks ago, obviously. I hadn't been invited. But after what happened at the ceremony, things had changed. Suddenly, I was very welcome to join. The text came at 2:07 p.m. MOM. Dinner is at 7 at Le Monarque. We'd love for you to come. Bring a +1 if you want. Sweet. I wondered if they'd already printed the menus with Melissa's name in gold. Still, I replied. Me. Sounds good. I'll be there. No +1. What I didn't say was that I wouldn't be sitting at their table. No, I had a different reservation. Because here's the thing about Le Monarque. It's not just a restaurant. It's also a private club. One with investment partners. One where, coincidentally, I now hold a substantial silent share. Which means two things. 1, I don't need a reservation. 2, I don't need an invitation. I arrived 20 minutes early. The hostess, perfectly polished and vaguely British, greeted me by name. Miss Hastings. Welcome back. Thank you, I said, handing off my coat. I'd like to sit near the east window, if it's open. Of course. Right this way. And just like that, I was seated at a sleek marble table with a glass of sparkling water and a direct line of sight to the private dining room. The one Melissa was in. I could see the gold balloons. I could see the champagne flutes clinking. And I could see the framed poster they'd made with her graduation photo. Underneath it read, Melissa Hastings, our shining star. I took a bite of my truffle risotto and smiled. Let her have her poster. I had the deed. The sommelier approached with a bottle of wine I hadn't ordered. This was sent over by Mr. Ellison. He's dining 2 tables over. I glanced to the side and smiled again. Of course. Richard Ellison. Hedge fund manager. Quiet donor. Major university benefactor. We'd met at an alumni gala 3 weeks earlier. He'd been very curious about my AI modeling project. We'd exchanged numbers. He'd offered me a board position. I had politely declined, but told him I might reconsider once I graduated. Now he was waving. Come join us, he mouthed. I shook my head. Not tonight. Tonight was about something else. By 7:45, the volume in the private dining room had risen. Melissa was giving a speech. She held a glass in one hand and her phone in the other, reading notes she clearly wrote 5 minutes earlier. She thanked our parents. She thanked her professors. She even thanked everyone who made this possible, which I found hysterical, since I definitely made a few things possible, though not for her. Then something happened. The manager of the restaurant, someone I knew well, entered the private room. He leaned down and whispered something to my mother. Then to my father. Confused faces. Then, recognition. My father's eyes widened. My mother blinked like she was buffering. And Melissa? Melissa just stared through the glass wall, right at me. Because the manager had told them what I'd arranged. The bill for their event? Already paid. Not by my parents. By me. And not as a favor. As a receipt. I had purchased that dining room. Not for the night. Permanently. The private dining space where they were toasting their shining star now had a new nameplate on the door. It read, The Hastings Room. A dedication plaque was being installed the next morning. Donated by Claire Hastings. In honor of those who quietly rise. They would never be able to enter that space again without seeing my name. Melissa sat down slowly. Her smile strained. My mom tried to raise her glass again, but her hand trembled slightly. I took another sip of my wine. It was a 2012 Bordeaux. Rich. Bold. Unapologetically sharp. Just like me. When I finally left, I didn't go over to say hello. Didn't wave. Didn't gloat. I simply signed my check and left a note on the napkin. Thank you for attending. Hope you enjoyed the view. 2 days after the dinner, Melissa finally called me. Not a text. Not a group chat message. An actual phone call. I didn't answer. Letting her sit in silence felt more generous than anything I could say out loud. But curiosity eventually got the better of me. I opened the voicemail. Her voice was tight. Controlled. Hey. I don't know what that dinner was supposed to be, but, congratulations, I guess. Everyone's been talking about you. I just wish you told us you were doing so well. Anyway, maybe we can grab coffee sometime. She ended it with a forced laugh. And for a moment, I almost pitied her. Almost. Because that's the thing about people like Melissa. They expect the world to orbit around them. And when it shifts, they call it betrayal. But I didn't betray her. I just evolved. Still, something was bothering me. It wasn't the applause. It wasn't even the jealousy. It was the way my parents looked at me now. Like I was an imposter. A glitch in their perfect narrative. They had spent years building the legend of Melissa. They dressed her in gold and told the world she was the prize. And suddenly, the girl they left behind had the power to change rooms with a signature. They didn't know what to do with that. So they did what they always did. They pretended. I got a text from my mother the next week. MOM. Brunch on Sunday? Just us girls. Let's catch up. Cute. It came with a selfie of her and Melissa, both smiling like none of this had happened. Like they hadn't skipped my graduation. Like they hadn't invested every cent in my sister's future while I lived on vending machine soup. But fine. I went. Partly out of curiosity. Partly because I had something they needed to see. Brunch was at the country club, of course. The kind of place where the omelets are small and the opinions are loud. They were already seated when I arrived. Melissa in pastel pink, hair perfectly curled. Mom in a blazer that probably cost more than my first car. Oh good, Mom said, standing to hug me like we hadn't spoken in 6 months. Melissa smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. So, Miss Millionaire. How does it feel being the family celebrity? I sat. Smiled. Overdue. They laughed a little too loudly. We made small talk. Melissa talked about maybe starting a lifestyle brand. Mom mentioned that people had been so impressed by my donation. Even Dad had told the guys at the golf club. How nice. Then Mom leaned forward, her tone softening. We were actually hoping to ask you something, honey. Ah. There it was. You've done so well, she said, and of course we're so proud. But Melissa's student loans are still quite large. Fashion isn't exactly stable. I waited. And her apartment lease is ending soon, Mom added. She might need help getting settled. We thought maybe you could assist. You've got the resources. Melissa looked down at her mimosa. I tilted my head. You want me to pay her rent? No, Mom said quickly. Not pay, exactly. Just support. Family helps family. I stirred my coffee. Once. Twice. Then I smiled. Sure, I said. Happy to help. They both exhaled, relieved. Melissa looked up, almost grateful. But, I added, there's a condition. They froze. Melissa comes to work for me. Their faces went pale. I continued. Nothing demeaning. Nothing beneath her. She can join the marketing team at the Hastings Center. Entry level, of course. She'll report to Renee. Very sharp woman. Harvard MBA. You'll like her. Melissa blinked. You want me to work for you? I want you to earn it. My mom sputtered. But, she's not interested in finance. That's fine. She can fetch coffee and learn. Melissa stared at me like I'd slapped her across the table. That's humiliating. No, I said softly. That's opportunity. You asked for help. I'm giving it. She pushed back her chair and stood. You're enjoying this. No, Melissa, I said. I built this. She left without another word. My mother tried to recover. She's just emotional. She didn't expect. I cut her off. She didn't expect consequences. None of you did. I stood and dropped a black envelope on the table. Inside was a check. Enough for Melissa's next 3 months of rent. In the memo line, I wrote, "Last favor." Then I walked out. I didn't look back. Not at the club. Not at their faces. Not at the brunch menu I didn't touch. I had better things to do. Later that week, I hosted a gala at the university. It was my official introduction as the founder of the Hastings Center. I gave a speech about access. About resilience. About overlooked potential. I said nothing about my family. But I saw them in the back of the room. Dad came. Stiff and quiet. Mom clapped a second too late for everything. And Melissa? She didn't come. But she sent flowers. They were expensive. The card read, "Congratulations. You always were the smart one. M." I didn't keep them. I donated them to the local retirement home. Felt appropriate. The next day, I woke up to a message from the dean. The university had nominated me for a national award in philanthropy. They asked if I had a quote for the press release. I sent one sentence. Some families inherit wealth. I inherited neglect. I turned both into power. That was the headline. It trended for 12 hours straight. People asked me if I wanted to start a podcast. A TED Talk. A memoir. Maybe someday. But for now, I was content with what I had. Silence. Autonomy. And a last name that, for once, meant something because of me. They clapped for Melissa's diploma. But when the dean mentioned my endowment, they stood. And that was the applause I'd been waiting for.